suitable clearing off the trail, and camp there for 3 or 4 days. We all like this idea. Greg says that his cousin could drop us off and pick us up, as we would not really have a place to park a car for several days while we romp around in the woods. Fast forward a few days. We have the trip all planned out, for the most part. Going to be out there for 4 days and 3 nights, leaving on Friday and returning on Monday. Greg's cousin will drop us off at the edge of the woods. Rendezvous with his cousin at the intersection of Long Island Expressway and Wading River Road on the 4th day. We have the following: a one-shot 22 LR rifle for each of us. Additionally, Maximilian has a .45 ACP 1911 and Frank has a revolver, .38 or .22, I can't remember which. Camping essentials, I'd rather not waste time describing all of them. I think Greg brought a fishing rod. A few changes of clothes. We decided against bringing our girlfriends, as Greg had just broken up with his, and we didn't want him to feel alone, and the other ones were not too crazy about spending several nights in a woods. Fast forward to the Friday. I have all my shit packed and ready to go. At like 10 or 11 a.m., Greg's cousin pulls up to our house in a dark green Plymouth minivan. We toss our stuff in the back and head off. It was like an hour and a half drive from the house to where we would get dropped off. For the sake of brevity, I will refer to Greg's cousin as Carl. Carl seems like a pretty cool guy. He graduated uni a few years before we did. The drive there is fun. We mainly talk about what we are gonna do, where we are gonna hike, what we are gonna eat. Fast forward to us driving along the forest's edge. Check for officers. Area is secure. JPEG. We pull off to the side of the road that we are on. Unpack and hop out. Wave and say goodbye to Greg's cousin. Head off into the woods. We plan on hiking for a few hours until we find a good clearing. Hike a mile or 2 into the woods. It has been pretty nice so far. Little amounts of trash. Seen a few chipmunks and squirrels. Hear the birds singing. We definitely heard a few woodpeckers. We reach a clearing. It is roughly 45 or 50 feet in diameter. Worst part of it was a poison ivy patch on the northeast edge of the clearing. We made sure to avoid this area. Here is a pic of the area, pig related. We set up our tents in the area. We then build a fire pit and gather firewood, because why do that at night? Do you want a sprained ankle from tripping on some branch? Color code for map. Light green is clearing. Dark green is woods. Dark green is poison ivy. Red is tents. Orange is fire pit. Brown is logs. After setting up home base, we decide to hike some more and plink some targets. Hike is going nicely. See some geese flying in the distance in their familiar V formation. Unfortunately, see a few plastic bottles in some bushes. Sort of depressing and annoying. We see some fucking Jewel Osco grocery bag stuck in a tree. We aren't exactly Al Gore, but something about being so far into the woods and still seeing some lazy fuckers trash really annoyed us. Frank is somewhat good at climbing, so he decides to climb up there and pull it down. Sets his pack on the ground and begins the climb. The plastic bag is about 15 above the ground. It takes Frank about 3 minutes to get it. "Oh fuck," he yells. "What is it? You okay?" "Yeah, I'll tell you once I get down." Frank untangles the bag from the branches that it was caught on and jumps back down to us. "I saw some fucked up animal up there," he says. "What was it?" "A fucked up raccoon, bro." "Shit. Like how fucked up?" "Its head was mashed in and its chest was torn open, with all the ribs looking broken. Also, it smelled like burnt rubber." "That's fucking gross. You didn't touch it, did you? It might have had some weird disease." "Oh shit, I hadn't even considered that." "Well, did you?" "No, but I'm gonna put some hydrogen peroxide on my hands just to be safe." What do you think did it? My guess is that some hawk was carrying it, dropped it, got it back, and was in the middle of eating it when we showed up. It got scared, and flew a safe distance away. Sounds about right. Anyway, what was your plan with the plastic bag now that you are stuck with it? I hadn't thought of that. What am I supposed to do with this? It's not like there is a dumpster nearby. Just put it in your back pocket and let's get back to hiking. We've digged around here for long enough, and I don't want to be hiking to camp in the dark. Sure thing. We continue. Quick info. Since I live in the suburbs, I'm used to seeing a bunch of fat and slow squirrels and chipmunks that run only if you are right next to them. So it is always sort of a weird experience for me to go in the woods and see timid, skinny squirrels and how rarely you see them compared to the suburbs. So I was already feeling a bit weird due to how far I was out of my environment. I told myself that everything was fine and that any weird feeling or concerns of mine were just from living around many humans and technology. I know that was worded kind of badly, but you get what I mean. I'm including this because I figure that it would helpful to know more about my state of mind and attitude towards spooky feels in the woods. Anyway, back to the story. We are marching along. See the sun just beginning to set. Tell the boys, and we start to head back. Head back the same way that we came, we don't want to get lost. By now, the sky has that orange-yellow hue to it that you sometimes get as the sun sets. It was quite pretty, to be honest. We are passing the tree that Frank pulled the plastic bag from. Greg trips on a large root that was protruding from the ground. He falls face first as his hands were in his pockets. Gigakek.jpg. He stands himself back up. I'm about to ask if he is okay when I see a large, reddish-brown stain on his jacket that wasn't there before. The fuck is that? I ask. Huh, Maximilian says. Greg looks down at his jacket, sees the stain, and starts freaking out. The fuck is this? Fuck. I just got this 2 weeks ago with Sarah, he yelled. Sarah was his girlfriend at the time, solid 8 out of 10. Maximilian grabs a longish stick and pokes at where Greg fell. Pushes a few leaves out of the way, exposing the corpse of a possum. That corpse was not a fresh one. The thing had its chest ripped open, with maggots all over it. Surprisingly, there was no noticeable smell. Seeing that the corpse was full of maggots, Greg was starting to spurg out. He ripped off the jacket whilst screaming, "Fucking God. Ah. I've got the fucking little grub fuckers on me. Fuck 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 fuck. God fucking damn it," or something similar. Greg began to swing his jacket into some tree, probably in an attempt to get the maggots and blood off. Frank grabs a wad of dry leaves and handed it to Greg. Use this to try and wipe off as much scum as you can. The fuck is a handful of fucking leaves gonna do? I need a fucking scrub brush and a hose, Greg barks at him. Hey asshole, shut the fuck up. Frank is just trying to fucking help you. And for right now, that's the best cleaning supplies that you can hope to get your hands on. We're in the middle of the goddamn woods, remember, I yell. Greg is about to fire a retort when Maximilian chimes in. Anon has a point, Greg. You'll have to wait until we get back to our campsite before you can actually wash it? And it is just a fucking jacket. Stop spazzing out over some blood. We are on this to relax and celebrate our graduation. Yelling at each other and screeching about some gunk isn't exactly my idea of relaxing. Greg is able to get most of it off, but there still was a fist-sized reddish-brown spot. We resume our hike back, with most of the sunlight gone. This inspires us to move at a much faster pace, since trying to find your way through unfamiliar woods at night is almost fucking hopeless, and we can't just set up camp, as all of our sleeping gear was back at the clearing. Thankfully, we reach the clearing after roughly 30 minutes and don't get lost in the woods at night. Maximilian gets the fire started as me and Frank get the food out. Greg is trying to remove the possum blood with some dish soap, paper towels, and some of the distilled water we brought with us. Max asks us what food we packed. Me and Frank take turns announcing each thing we packed as we pull them all out. Jerky. Refried beans. Spam, the magical fruit. Wait, what? The magical fruit, Frank answers. You know, beans. Greg, who must have been listening to us, adds in, I have literally never heard a sane person refer to baked beans as the magical fruit. Why do you call it that? It doesn't even look like it could be a fruit. My dad and his side of the family have a goofy little song that they sing when they are eating beans, Frank responds. Who wants to hear it? I egg him on, saying sure, dude. Who wouldn't want to hear some hillbilly song about eating beans? I'm not a hillbilly, you dick. Do you want to hear it or not? Yeah. Okay then, Frank says. Here it is. Beans, beans, the magical fruit. The more you eat, the more you toot. The more you toot, the better you feel, so I have beans every meal. What cha think? Funny. Maximilian speaks first. I wouldn't say that was high-class humor, but I did find it funny to imagine you and like 5 other grown-ass men singing that at the dinner table. BTW, Frank is pretty buff, and so are all the other guys in his family, so the image of like 6 buff men singing the more you toot is absurd enough for me and my niggies to get a kick out of the song. We all enjoy a good, hearty kick and Franklin seems quite pleased with himself. The meal we decide on just so happens to be baked beans. Max yells that it's dinner time. The rest of us head over, grab a plate, Max serves us our share, and we sit down on some large rocks. Frank immediately goes and a 1. And a 2. And a 3. We all break into song, sort of in unison. Beans, beans, the magical fruit. The more you eat, the more you toot. The more you toot, the better you feel, so I have beans every meal. We all cheer with completion of our badly synchronized recital and begin to consume our dish. In the middle of our ritual of the consumption of the baked beans, a loud shriek tears through the woods. I don't really know how to describe it, since I don't hear animal cries where I live, but rest assured, it was really fucking loud, and was more painful to hear than being in a room full of people scratching their nails across a chalkboard. What the hell was that? Was that some sort of animal's death screech? I ask my friends. I've heard the screams of dying animals before, and that sounded nothing like one. It was too loud for a dying animal to make, too. You'd have to be sitting right next to the animal for that kind of volume, Greg tells me. Well, whatever it was, it made me drop my plate, Max groans. I glance over at the ground in his direction. Poor dude's plate landed upside down, and none of his beans survived. Greg offers some of his, and the problem is solved. They all resume their meals like nothing happened while I sit stunned. What, that's it? None of you are the slightest bit concerned or even curious. None of you have the slightest clue to what that was, so you guys have decided to just ignore it. I guess so. What we're planning to do? Go into the woods at night to try and figure out the source of a scary loud noise, replies Frank.